Well, the Eagles might be eyeing a huge trade, as with one of the most exciting weapons in the NFL draft expected to fall, one draft analyst is saying that the Eagles might actually make a move to go up and get him. Meanwhile, Howie Roseman also could have some big plans at tight end, while the AJ Brown trade saga just got way weirder. But hear why the NFL's latest scandal might actually help the Birds. So let's talk about all that and more starting right now. So the NFL draft is just a couple weeks away at this point, and the anticipation is only building as to what the Eagles might decide to do when they get on the clock up in Pittsburgh. But while we do have plenty to talk about in regards to that, there's obviously another story that has taken center stage for the Eagles these past couple days, and honestly, it might be the weirdest thing that I've ever covered on this channel. And you guys aren't living under a rock, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. That, of course, being the Dianna Russini Mike Vrabel scandal, as on a random Tuesday afternoon in April, the New York Post decided to drop these photos from page 6, showing the New York Times top NFL reporter and the Patriots head coach holding hands, staring deeply into each other's eyes, and hugging at a luxury hotel in Arizona. Yeah, safe to say this isn't exactly the best look for either one of them. I mean, they've both denied any allegations of an inappropriate relationship going on, saying that they were there with other groups of friends. However, none of the photos show that. This photo right here totally just looks like a normal interaction between friends, doesn't it? And the article from page 6 also says that they were seen, just the two of them, for several hours together, including in the evening on a private rooftop only accessible from the hotel's two-person bungalows, which cost over $2,000 a night. By the way, this hotel is known for being a romantic getaway type of resort. So those are just the facts from the report that we have. And look, I mean, like, it's not up to me to decide whether these two married adults are having an affair or not, although I certainly have my opinions. But that's not my business. Why this matters to me, though, is because of the AJ Brown trade saga and the role that both Russini and Vrabel have played in it. I mean, let's just call it what it is. Like, this is a major conflict of interest because it's no secret that Dianna Russini has been the main driver of the AJ Brown trade narrative since all the way back at the start of last season. I mean, every single weekend, it felt like we were getting a new report from Russini talking about how AJ was frustrated or indifferent in Philadelphia, and a trade could eventually be the outcome. In this offseason, nothing has changed about that, as Russini has continued to fan the flames of a potential AJ Brown trade, while she's also consistently listed the Patriots as the top landing spot for him. Meanwhile, Mike Vrabel has publicly talked about his relationship with AJ Brown this offseason, specifically saying that they'll text each other from time to time throughout the season. So, given all that info, I don't think it's a stretch to say that this is tampering, or at the very least, it's something that's worthy of an investigation. Because think about it, like, the Patriots clearly want AJ, Mike Vrabel clearly wants AJ, so is it a stretch to think that Vrabel is having Russini push out these stories so that it lowers AJ Brown's trade value and the Patriots can go get him for cheaper? Like, is that crazy of a theory given all the information we know? I don't think it is. Now, I don't think this means that there's no chance AJ gets traded, because we do have plenty of other sources out there, like Adam Schefter, that have apparently heard things too. Speaking of which, Schefter was on 97.5 The Fanatic on Wednesday, where he was asked about the whole thing, and he said that even with all the buzz about Russini and AJ going to the Patriots, he was hearing that not too long ago, a trade actually almost got done that would have sent AJ to the LA Rams.
I'll speak to the AJ Brown situation. I don't think there's anything different there. For me, did Dianna report something that I don't know about with AJ Brown? I don't remember that.
She has the most stories, how about this? Most tweets directly on this story.
Yeah, well,
on the coverage of this story, and now that seems very suspicious to the fan base because of this relationship with Mike Vrabel, whether it's personal, whether it's professional, whether it's misunderstood. This now adds a whole nother layer of intrigue to the story here locally as far as how close is she to this story?
You know, again, the way I do my job is I weigh in when there are things that matter and when there's news. There have been plenty of trade talks that have gone on that I've known about. Like, let's put it this way. How about this? The Eagles and Rams were further along at one point than people realized.
Sure.
Was that out there? Was Dianna on that? Were other people on that? I don't know. But it was. And at one point I remember thinking, boy, there's a chance it's going to get done with the Rams. And I was waiting to report it. And it didn't get done.
Now, of course, we talked about this not too long ago in a previous video, but that potential AJ Brown trade to the Rams would have sent Davante Adams back to Philadelphia in what would have been an absolutely insane move. And honestly, even though Adams is past his prime at 33 years old, he still put up almost 800 receiving yards and 14 touchdowns in the Rams offense last year. So he can clearly still play at a high level. And even though I would hate to see AJ on a conference rival, especially a team as good as the Rams, I would say if the Eagles are going to trade him, a big part of me would honestly rather see AJ go to LA and the Eagles get Davante Adams in return than see Brown go to New England just after all the shadiness that has gone on there. Now again, my ultimate hope is that AJ Brown returns to Philadelphia and all these trade rumors just go away, but regardless of what happens, this entire situation with Vrabel and Russini is just absolutely ridiculous. Both of them 100% should be punished in some way. Russini's credibility, I think, is forever majorly damaged, and if I were Howie Roseman and the Eagles, I am 100% trying to get the Patriots punished for tampering and get a draft pick out of it. So even though this whole thing's crazy and Eagles fans should be pissed about it, this actually might help Philly.
Well. How the turntables...
But wait, there's more, and not saying that this is tampering, but I do find it a little bit weird that now we have sources, mainly Patriots outlets, coming out and pushing this idea that AJ Brown has a degenerative knee issue, and that could impact a potential trade. I mean, just listen to this from SI's Albert Breer on NBC Sports Boston.
I think Mike Vrabel has some experience with this, obviously having been with AJ Brown, and that was the reason why he was traded. Was the knee, and that was 4 years ago. The knee was already starting to go and starting to show signs of that.
To interject, there was video when A.J. Brown was traded from draft night, and that showed Vrabel
Upset.
disconsolate.
Yep.
And I came to understand from the reporting is it was more him being disconsolate that it had to happen.
Right.
But he felt as if it had to happen.
No, he knew. My understanding was they had explored doing an extension with him. They started to talk about doing. Now, this was the year, of course, that he was first eligible. He was 3 years into the league, and the doctors more or less told him, like, you can't give him a huge contract. And you know how this stuff goes. Like, the doctor says something, and I mean, it's disappointing for everybody. Doctors more or less told John Robinson, like, it would probably be irresponsible to do a monster contract with this guy. Now, obviously, that wound up being the incorrect assessment because he's made it 4 years.
Yep.
But if this is a knee condition that will continue to degenerate, which is what I understand it was, if that's what it looked like in 2022, probably not going to look very good now. And then you add to it the fact that this was a factor for the Rams.
Yeah, so apparently, according to Breer and also Pats insider Tom Curran, the reason the Rams ultimately didn't trade for AJ is because of this supposed degenerative knee issue that he's been dealing with since way back in 2022, which also is apparently the reason that the Titans traded him to the Eagles in the first place. Now, I don't know if I've gone insane or something, but I know for a fact that I've watched every single game that AJ Brown has played over the past 4 years in an Eagles uniform, and I'm pretty sure he's put up over 1,000 yards every single season, and that knee injury hasn't really been a major issue at any point. I mean, the worst it was during the 2024 season on the way to the Super Bowl, and he still made major contributions in the NFC Championship and in the Super Bowl, which, of course, they won. So, I don't know. It's really weird to me that this narrative about AJ's knees are now being pushed, and it's being displayed like it's this huge, massive concern. Plus, if the knees were that big of a problem, why would Howie Roseman give him not one, but two giant contract extensions? Like, it doesn't make sense. I feel like it's being overblown. Like, to me, this honestly just seems like another attempt to lower AJ Brown's trade value, but I'm curious to know what your guys' thoughts are on this, so put those down in the comments below. Still, though, whether AJ is traded remains to be seen, but I'll tell you this. If the Eagles decide to draft a wide receiver early on in this upcoming NFL draft, I feel like that's a pretty clear sign of what's coming, and we actually just got a report from NFL draft analyst Jordan Reed saying that the Eagles could do just that, as following reports that Arizona State wide receiver Jordyn Tyson, who's possibly the most talented receiver in this entire class, could fall later into the first round. Reed said that the Eagles are a team that could potentially try and trade up for him. As he said, quote, Jordyn Tyson is a player to watch, as he could still be on the board in the 17 to 20 range. Howie Roseman is notorious for drafting replacements for veterans a year in advance. And look, if the Eagles are going to trade AJ Brown, which, I've consistently said that I want him to stay, but if they are going to trade him and it doesn't cost the Eagles too much to make that trade up to go get Tyson, I think it makes sense. I mean, sure, do the Eagles have other positions in need elsewhere? Yes. I mean, I think safety or edge rusher or tight end are more pressing issues right now, but the Eagles' philosophy has consistently been to take the best available player, and again, Tyson might just be the most talented receiver in this entire draft class. The only issue is that he has an extensive injury history, which that is a major concern. So the Eagles would have to be willing to take a risk there, but again, if they could trade up and not give up too much in the process, I think it makes sense because, again, Tyson is super, super talented, phenomenal route runner, super productive in college. Like, he'd be a great addition to this Eagles offense. He just has to stay healthy. And then staying at wide receiver, the Birds also just had a top 30 visit with Texas Tech's Caleb Douglas, who's got both great size at 6'3", 206 pounds, but also has great speed, running a 4.39 40-yard dash. So that's a unique combination, and he's obviously got all the physical tools to be successful. Plus, he's a good blocker at wide receiver too, so that's nice. But there are some concerns with drops and lack of contested catches being an issue for him. So some drawbacks for sure, but as a day 3 target at receiver, Douglas could make sense. However, like I mentioned, I think the even more pressing concern for the Eagles right now on offense is the tight end position. And they absolutely need to address that at some point in this draft, I think early on, and if they were to do that, they have their fair share of options. Now, obviously, there's the dream target in Oregon's Kenyon Sadiq, and if he somehow falls, I think there's absolutely no question that the Eagles and Howie Roseman need to find a way to move up and get him. But if not, there are still other options out there, such as Vanderbilt's Eli Stowers, who's a great receiving weapon, standing at 6'4", 245 pounds, and also has great speed and athleticism for a tight end, and he's projected to go on day 2, so he could definitely be a very good option for the Birds, although he does have issues blocking. Then there's Baylor's Michael Trigg, who's expected to go day 2 or early day 3, and he's another really good receiving weapon with good size, combined with good athleticism, speed, and mobility, and he also plays with some nice physicality and relentless effort, which we know the Eagles love that, so no doubt he'd be a solid addition as well, although he does have limitations blocking too. Then there's Ohio State's Max Klare, who's another guy that could go day 2 to early day 3. And once again, this is a guy that projects to be a really solid receiving weapon. You know, he was productive in the passing game in college. He's a good route runner. He can line up all over the place, and he's got good mobility and speed too. So he could be a solid addition, although again, he's just not a great blocker like these other guys. But then you have Texas A&M's Nate Boerkircher, who's mainly known for his blocking, but also has a lack of production receiving-wise in college. And although he has the tools to be a good NFL player, he is definitely a risk. And then you got Texas's Jack Endries, who's another good receiving weapon that could go in the middle rounds. You know, he's got good hands, good size, good speed, and good versatility to line up all over the place. He just, again, he struggles as a blocker. And then you got NC State's Justin Jolly, who's another guy that fits with the mold of most of this entire class, being that he's a stronger receiver than blocker, although he is a bit better as a pass blocker than maybe some of these other guys, and he also has great size, amazing hands, he's got the ability to win jump balls consistently, he's a good route runner, he can get vertical, and can line up all over the field, so he can make sense as well. Then you got Cincinnati's Joe Royer, and I feel like a broken record at this point, but he's another guy that could go in the middle rounds. He's a good receiving weapon with good hands. He's also a really good athlete with good speed, running a 4.65 40-yard dash. He creates good separation on his routes, and he also plays with some physicality and seems to be a guy with a very high ceiling and potential for more improvement and development. But again, his weakness is his blocking. And then you got Georgia's Oscar Delp, who has really great speed at the tight end position, running a super impressive 4.48 40-yard dash. He's also got very reliable hands and presents as a nice vertical threat at tight end. But again, he's a weaker blocker. And then there's Stanford's Sam Roush, who's kind of the opposite of some of these other guys, where his hands are a bit questionable and he has concerns as a receiver, although he still has ability there. But his strength is as a blocker, and he shows a lot of toughness and fight in that area. Plus, he's got some great athleticism and put on a show at the combine with a 38-inch vertical and a 10.6 broad jump at 265 pounds. So, you know, those aren't all the guys at the tight end position that the Eagles could look to target. I probably didn't even need to mention all them, and we'll probably talk a little bit more about some of those guys as we get closer and closer to the draft. But, you know, there's definitely risks and weaknesses with each one of them, and it's kind of hard to know how these guys are going to pan out. But, you know, I'd be cool with someone like Stowers. I'd be cool with Max Klare. I'd be cool with Michael Trigg. There's a lot of guys that I'd be cool with, but I'm curious to know your guys' thoughts down in the comments below. If the Eagles don't manage to get Kenyon Sadiq, what tight end is next on your draft board? Who do you most most want the Eagles to get at that position. Just, again, give me your thoughts down in the comments. And also, while you're at it, make sure you subscribe and you turn on notifications so you don't miss any more Eagles content or coverage coming throughout the rest of this offseason and leading up to the draft. I do think I'm going to be live for round 1 of the draft this year, so make sure you guys, again, subscribe and have your notifications turned on so you don't miss it. And also, leave a like down below to show some support because it really does help me out a ton. Let's see if we can get to at least 500 likes today. And also hit the hype button because that really helps me out a ton as well. And if you do want to check out my stream from Wednesday night where I went even more in depth on the whole Dianna Russini, Mike Vrabel thing and just was kind of talking with people and laughing, you can check this out right here. It was a good time. Make sure you guys pull up for streams in the future. Now, with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.